Ready to roll.
Alright, good evening everyone. This is John Cap with the Freightliner FLD with the turbo-powered Cummins FSM engine and with a 10-speed Fuller transmission. We're going to start with the first destination in your field just a sec. So let's go for a ride, everyone.
Stay right, and then turn right. Turn right. Stay right, and then turn right. This is where it ends. Drive safe.
When Congress is out of session, that means most of the lobbyists don't go into the office. And it's also August in DC, so a lot of government employees are also out of the office. So there probably there is less people, but according to several reports, for the first week, restaurants were having less patrons, and over the last couple of days, that's reversed itself, and they're back to normal in terms of the number of patrons, if not having a few more. My point to all of this is, I think it was a little shock to the system to be driving in downtown DC and see military vehicles outside of just around monuments in the Capitol, which we were all used to.
For sure.
But to see it on other streets, and hopefully, and this is my other point on this, this will be, for me at least, more of a demonstration project if the National Guard is deployed in areas of Washington, D.C. that have the highest level of crime rate, and not just where the tourists from the rest of the country and the world are congregating.
And that's not happening so far, right? I mean, what we've seen, I know there's a Washington Post study, they've been deployed in places that do not have the expert.
What is happening in Georgetown? That is Anacostia? Sure. Georgetown? I don't get it. I don't get the strategy here.
And I think, to the Vice President's point on all of this, when he talks about somebody with the will to actually make this happen over the last 20, 30 years, citizens of D.C. have complained about the high crime rate. During and immediately after COVID, we did see an uptick in carjackings. There is if we have a very serious conversation about the crime rate in Washington, D.C., and just from the standpoint of how safe someone feels going out to dinner or going to an event to watch the Nationals play or the Capitals play or whomever, during COVID, there was a period of time where kids were not going to school. They were on the streets. You do have this. I do think we can have a reasonable conversation about that.
General downward trend in crime, and there are a lot of ways to look at crime, and there are parts of DC where people feel unsafe, and crime has been a challenge for years.
There's also crime rate statistics that don't match up. Like the FBI's crime rate does not match up with the DOJ's crime rate, which does not have the same numbers as the Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia. So, we can argue about all these rates. I guess here's what I would say to this.
Yeah.
I believe that a lot of this has to do with perception and a demonstration project, for lack of a better descriptor, by the president in Washington, D.C.
To demonstrate what?
Just to demonstrate that there is, that he's tough on crime, that there is a crime issue in America's cities, and that defund the police has taken its toll on not just police officers, but how American cities have been governing themselves over the last several years. That defund the police, and again, this goes back to playing to his base to a certain extent, but I also think this plays beyond his base. This is part of the reason why Donald Trump won in November of 2024. This is a bit of a backlash to what we saw post George Floyd, and over the last several years. And this is just a continuation of that argument and that political debate.
All right, you're listening to Left, Right, and Center from KCRW. We're talking about this question of where power exists in our government. If we are potentially on a road towards autocracy, we're talking about the president and his White House taking over the DC police, sending federal officers and the National Guard to patrol the streets of Washington, D.C. To fight crime. Mike, you were just saying that you see this potentially as largely a demonstration to highlight the problem of crime in American cities. Rebecca, before I get to kind of the central question I want to go to, which is what could the implications be if the president goes farther down this road, if this is more of a demonstration for the cameras and to the country to say crime is a problem, I, the President of the United States, have control over this, are you okay with that if, say, it's temporary and limited?
No. I think if he was really worried about defunding the police and the DC crime rates, he wouldn't have cut a billion from the DC budget. Like, I think this idea that this is a demonstration is it's been a week and a half. It's been a week and a half, so it's time for the demonstration to stop. I know that legally this is allowed. This feels like an overreach, though, and the reason it feels like an overreach is because it can't happen legally for longer than 30 days without congressional approval here in DC. It's something we haven't seen. Mike's right. We haven't seen this level of policing since during COVID, Black Lives Matter, the George Floyd protests. And I think that's the thing that concerns me, because I'm against crime, right? We're all against crime, but have we gone too far? Has the pendulum swung too far? I know, like anti-crime, Rebecca Piercy. But
Headline of the day.
I just want to be clear. Like, I am fine with police. I am fine with National Guard. As people, as humans, I want them to do their jobs. I do not think we need an extra 800 bodies here in Washington, D.C., particularly in August when it's empty here. It's just, it seems like such a massive overkill on this scale that I want it to stop, and I want them to be able to go home, right? I want these National Guards people to be able to go home. This is silly. A lot of times you see them and they're just walking around. And it's not that they are not patrolling, but it's like,
It's a show of force.
what are we doing?
Well, Mike,
Yeah.
Mike, let me ask you a couple of things that struck me when I was listening to people like the Vice President, Stephen Miller. I mean, one was the words political willpower, which is different than saying crime statistics are X and the National Guard can help do Y to, like, reduce them. And then you had Stephen Miller basically saying, oh, you people are yelling and screaming, like, thank you so much, because your anger is going to lead us to do even more of this. It was almost like a shove it in your face kind of thing. Isn't it fair to ask if this president and his team have something else going on here beyond just saying, let's fight crime and show a demonstration? I'm not sure what that is yet, but it feels like similar to what we were talking about in an environment where we are watching a president of the United States, again, focusing on whoever that might be, basically take over policing in the nation's capital. Maybe it's a case where we don't know what the consequences could be and what he's planning to do with these powers that he's at least giving precedent for.
Let's go back, and this isn't the first time. So if we're going to expand this conversation a little bit, let's remember the use of calling out the National Guard in L.A.
With some of the same questions
Some
and
of the-
controversy.
right.
Yeah.
And in the District of Columbia, the district is not a state. It's governed under other rules. That is the reason why West Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama can send their National Guard to help defend the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. And that
Which we should say adds
president-
another element to this. You're seeing red
It
state
adds
National
another-
Guard coming to the nation's capital to patrol the streets. I mean, there's something.
Exactly
Yes.
right. And weirdly, the president is in control of the National Guard in the District of Columbia, not the mayor of Washington, D.C.
Right.
So I just want to point all of this out, but I also want to go back just because to frame what we're talking about
Yeah.
here and to make your point. However, and this is where I go back to the start of the program, where I believe we have had instances in our history of overreach, whether it be presidential executive overreach or judicial overreach or congressional overreach, in which the system of government that we have has been able to hold steady and be a bulwark against that overreach. And in the instance of DC, as Rebecca pointed out, there is a 30-day moratorium on these troops being in DC. So if these troops, which have been here now a week and a half, let's just say 14 days, if they're here over 30, then I think we're getting into where your question's going, David, which is, are we in a show of force that is going against the rule of law? We haven't really had that yet, and that's why I said earlier, one person's distraction is another's constitutional crisis, because if we're not is this a distraction or is this a constitutional crisis? Well, we haven't defied the rule of law yet in this instance, nor in California. So I guess I hate to say it, I'm always an optimist. I'm a glass half full guy, but I do believe in the great American experiment in our rule of law and our Constitution, and for all of the strum and drang about Donald Trump and his authoritarian tendencies, he hasn't defied the Supreme Court yet. He hasn't, and David Ignatius that's his definition of what a constitutional crisis is. It's when a president defies the Supreme Court. Now, I bet you a lot of liberals think that we're heading in that direction, but we haven't gotten there. And I think that's a very clear line, a very clear distinction, and I just want to point it out once again.
I think that frames the whole show today to me. It's like we're moving in that direction, but haven't gotten there. And I mean, Rebecca, what do you do? People are asking questions. In this moment, looking at a lot of the things we're talking about, we're heading down a direction, but haven't gotten there yet. What should we, as citizens, as people involved in politics, as people who care about the future of our country, like, what are the questions we should be asking in a moment like this one?
My first instinct on this was stop, drop, and roll. Like, everybody's got to cool it. We've got to take a step back and just assess what is going on. How does this make me feel? Let's stop and think about what the consequences are.
I want to do a weekend retreat and do it. I'm there with you. Like, I literally, and I'm very serious, sincerely. I'm there with you if you want to do that.
No phones. Let's just talk about what's happening and what could happen. I think when the president's team is out in public and makes these tense situations even hotter, it makes the questions different. It makes the questions different about what we're doing here. So what are we doing with the National Guard in DC is one question, and what does that lead to? When Stephen Miller is calling a bunch of protesters stupid white hippies, that is begging another question about who does Donald Trump and his team think should be in this American civil life? Who has a voice here and who does not? Because protesting is like, it's a bedrock of democracy. It's a way for ordinary people to hold everybody else accountable. Mike is right. Protesters have been at Union Station since the day the National Guard got deployed here. And so these are planned protests at Union Station every single day. They've got Humvees outside. So the bigger issue is about leadership and the respect for public debate, which I do not think we are seeing from the Trump administration right now. And so when the people at the highest levels of government are openly mocking citizens, we are normalizing a certain intolerance, and we're normalizing that we can't protest the government, which people have been doing since the inception of America. And so I think we are on another path. We could be on the freeway for this one, moving towards a political culture where disagreement is frowned on and it's punishable. And I think Miller's remarks really highlight that for me. And it's not the first time that Trump's people or Trump himself have made comments like this. And I think that's the question for me, like, who are they in this for? And if it's just a bunch of stupid white hippies that are protesting, like, who's allowed to be at the table, Stephen Miller? Like, who's allowed to protest this? Who's allowed to be in the conversation? So these are the kinds of questions I think we need to be asking. But I think it's definitely two sets of questions.
All right, we're going to take one more break, and then Mike Dupke, Rebecca Piercy, and I will come back to continue this conversation, talk about a few things we've heard from the president himself inside the White House recently, talking about a potential third term. Is he joking or not? You're listening to Left, Right, and Center.
You start your day with Morning Edition and end it with All Things Considered right here on Houston Public Media. As we approach the end of our station's fiscal year, your support keeps programs that you rely on strong for our community. With recent federal funding cuts, meeting our fiscal year end goal is essential to ensure we start the new year ready to serve our community. Make your gift now at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate.
I'm Anita Rao, embodied as WUNC's weekly radio show and podcast about sex, relationships, and health. Join me to meet people who aren't afraid to question what we think we know about intimacy, who are embracing the unique ways their bodies shape their lived experience, and who have some fascinating stories to share about their relationships. We'll take on the taboo together, next time on Embodied.
Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on News 88.7.
All right, we're back with Left, Right, and Center. I'm David Green with Rebecca Piercy on the left, a veteran Democratic strategist, and Mike Dupke on the right, GOP communications strategist. He was President Trump's director of communications at the beginning of Trump's first term. I want to kind of bring us home in some of the things that we've been talking about, like, where power is being amassed, what the questions that we should be asking about the road that our country and government are going down. So in the White House, President Trump has some shelves for merch. He's got hats on the shelves that say things like Trump 2028 and 4 more years. Let that just sink in for a second. And not only are those hats there, but the president recently was showing off his collection to Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev. This room where they were is just off the Oval Office.
You're not allowed to run a so I'm 28 points higher than anyone. Everybody wants me to run. It's funny, so the strategy is crazy, like 4 more years, single so fellas, come on, grab what you want. It's okay.
Grab what you want. Grab a hat. Wear it when you go home to Azerbaijan. Rebecca, is this just Trump trolling us? Do you see any seriousness in this at all?
Yeah, like I said, I take everything he says seriously. I mean, I think it's, well, first of all, it's unconstitutional, but, we haven't gotten there yet. Mike is right, we haven't gotten there yet. Yeah, I take this very seriously. I think if America is willing to flirt with this, there are people buying this stuff. There are people who actually believe that he should be running in 2028. I think it's not theoretical. It's sort of at the heart of what we've been talking about. Like, can he do it? Will he do it? Is this a distraction or is it a constitutional crisis, like Mike said? I think this one is more distraction than constitutional crisis because 3 years is a really long way away from now, and
right.
Anything could happen. I think this is like in my mind, it's a massive troll, but man, is it working. You know how many texts I get a day from, Democratic groups saying stop Trump's 3rd term, $73, whatever it is,
Okay,
it's
so
working.
Democrats are using
working.
this too. I'm glad you reminded us of that. That is happening. I guess Mike, let me see how I want to put this, because as Rebecca just said, anything can happen. We're 3 years away. As you have said, we might be approaching a constitutional crisis somewhere on the road. Hasn't happened yet, but that leads me to think, like, what questions we should be asking. I just want to, bringing together a lot of what we've talked about, I want to paint at least a scenario based on actual things that are happening. We have the president showing a precedent for taking over policing in the nation's capital, where we saw the events of January 6th play out in Washington, D.C., where elections are certified by Congress. We have the president pushing for things in Texas that could cement or solidify a majority in Congress, and Congress plays an important role in a lot of the things that we have brought up, such as whether his emergency powers should continue in Washington, D.C., such as whether they could change the law to change the way voting takes place and give the federal government more power. These are the kinds of things that scare a lot of people. Like, could you imagine a January 6th, 2029, where Donald Trump says this election was absolutely corrupt, and he has built a case for that over time, and whatever happens around that moment in Washington, D.C., he controls the armed forces who are in Washington, D.C. There's precedent for things that you've brought this up, like other presidents in the history of our country. Like, when do we?
Was
yeah,
a 4-term president.
Totally.
This is the whole reason why we are restricting
Right.
presidents to 2
Right.
terms.
So
and he was a Democrat. Let's not forget.
So when we hear Trump talk about like 2028, is when do we reach the point where things could happen that are unprecedented?
You make me think of it. When we were debating this, the redistricting and all of this, and having it always keeps popping into my mind that the only politician right now who is actively defying the will of the people is Gavin Newsom in California.
Doing redistricting in response to the
California has
president.
voted for an independent redistricting commission, and Gavin Newsom, because he wants to run for president in 2028, I guess against Donald Trump, who will be running for his 3rd term, then has decided that the will of the people, twice decided in California, isn't good enough, so we're going to take another bite at that apple. So that's, we need to be clear about what's going arrangement syndrome, are sending dollar after dollar through Act Blue to stop the third term of, well, I guess Donald Trump would call it his fourth term because he won in 2020, and want to stop the fourth term of Donald Trump.
And I do want to say what you brought up about Gavin Newsom. You know, it's fair. California redistricting is going to go before voters in California, we should say. I mean, so, but to say that he is pushing for something very deliberately and specifically, fair point. Rebecca, when do we start thinking about unprecedented as opposed to precedented? If, as you said, so much could happen in the next 3 years.
Oh, I think we're still a ways off for unprecedented for Donald Trump's third term. We've got to get through 25. We've got to get through 26. And then I think 27 is when it really would start in earnest. I think if he is making moves to gain ballot access anywhere in 27, that is when I would start to worry. But probably not until then. This is just a moneymaker for Democrats. And it's great. So I hope they keep it up. It's stupid, but I'll take it.
How is that moneymaker working? Like, what is the Democratic strategy around this, as you see it?
I mean, it's really just stop Donald Trump. Stop Donald Trump from his third term takeover. And, you know, I think it's a lot of these PACs that seem to do a lot of texting that are texting on it. And, you know, like every time my mom gets a text, she's sending $3, right? I'm not kidding about this. I mean,
It's fear and anger.
It's fear and anger.
And I'm going to jump in here with Rebecca. As political consultants, I think we can both tell you, or maybe agree, that the two of the greatest motivations for voters are fear and anger.
Absolutely, yes.
And so if you're afraid of Donald Trump's third term, you're going to send in some money. If you're angry about some action with the National Guard, you're going to send in some money. So this is a weird symbiotic relationship that Donald Trump has with Democratic fundraisers and Nancy Pelosi or Jeffries or whomever the National Democrat is at the time, or Biden. You know, this is the world that we live in when it comes to politics.
Is it working in reverse too, where Republicans are sending in money because they're happy about the DC National Guard situation, or that they're happy about Donald Trump's third term? That's not happening?
No, I mean, I think on the Republican side, you're getting more fundraising missives about building the wall and other immigration and stuff like that. Less, I haven't seen a lot of fundraising off of deploying the National Guard. No.
Well, if that's the case, Mike, then who is Trump's audience when he does some of these things? Like, if it's not fundraising for him, for Republicans, when he does the, like, you know, Trump 2028 hat thing, knowing that he's being filmed, when he takes some of these actions, when he floats the idea that the federal government has control over elections. Like, I just think about getting back to the central question of, you know, people who supported Donald Trump, why did they vote for him, and what do they want? Like, does he think that they want these sorts of things if it's a power shift in our country?
You know, part of this is sticking it to the man, right? That's the when you're, I can't run for a third term. Well, I'll show you type of thing. That kind of rhetoric.
I'll stick it on a hat.
Yeah, and for his base, it's on my baseball cap. Why isn't that good enough for you? That kind of rhetoric is actually, I don't want to call it chum in the water, but for the Trump base, again, a lot of people were motivated because they were sick and tired of how Washington worked over decades. They were sick and tired of politicians saying the same old, same old. But Donald Trump could get something different. Donald Trump, a showman who came to the national attention because of television, frankly, and The Apprentice. I mean, he understands Twitter, X, whatever we want to call it. He understands playing to the camera. He understands telling a story. All of this is part and parcel of that. And so that's what's going on here. Some of it is for fundraising, and I think the other side has now finally figured out how to use it for fundraising. But a lot of this is showmanship.
You know, Rebecca, the thing that makes me now want to go to a healing retreat with you somewhere at some point soon is this symbiotic relationship that Mike brought up. I mean, I just think about if our current politics has descended into having the president of the United States and a leading Democratic opposition voice being completely immature and ridiculous on social media, and I'm talking about Gavin Newsom on X. Like, is that a preview for the next year and a half leading to the midterms? Like, it's just going to be Trump doing things that are trolling, that, as we've said, might be incredibly consequential, and we should think about it and not be distracted from asking the important questions that I think we're asking today. But the Democrats will just respond by saying, like, oh, he did another thing, let's raise $3 from your family, Rebecca, because he did a thing. Like, and that sounds really unpleasant.
It sounds unpleasant. It also sounds unproductive. And I do think that this is it's a really good question. Has Donald Trump changed the way that people communicate in politics? I think the answer is unequivocally yes. And I think that I was on a show last week with Pete Seat, who's a great Republican in Indiana, and he said, I think it's interesting that Democrats are now copying the way Donald Trump communicates. And I was like, yes, they are, because he has proven the way he communicates, no matter how pissed off you are about what he is saying, the way he communicates with people works. He's effective at it. He's a good communicator. And I think that, yes, we are headed to an all caps Twitter off between Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump for 2028. And that's just the hell that we are all going to live in, right? But I don't think we
will leave it there. You mentioned the invitation to join our Substack. Another way that you can communicate with us is by sending us questions. And if you record your voice, we might play your questions on the air and try and grapple with some of the things that you're thinking about. So record a voice memo if you can. Keep it around 30 seconds or so, and send it to us at lrc@kcrw.org. That's lrc@kcrw.org. Just drop your first name if you can. Tell us where you're calling from and your question, and we might hear your question on the show. All right, we're going to leave it there, and we are going to move to our left, right, and center rants and raves. Rebecca, you want to kick us off?
Here is one that I think is going to be probably played out, but it is something that I have experienced already. Let's call it today prior to taping this. It is a complete and total lockout of every single program because I can't remember passwords, and they are not stored in my computer. And I try to be so clever and use things like my first cat's blood type, and it does not work. And so I am over this. I am over everything having a password and different. It all has to be different, of course. I don't want to get hacked. Like I told you guys, I'm anti-crime. So I cannot keep doing this. I'm too old. There's too many passwords. I like writing stuff down on paper. Yeah, it was a tough morning. Tough morning for me.
Bless you for saying that. And I'm gonna reveal myself as a Luddite, but I can't even figure out how to use the automatic password generation function like on my phone.
Yeah, we have one at work, and it stores all the passwords. And I'm like, why would I put it there?
Broken system.
I don't even know how to use it.
Broken system. No more passwords. Mike.
Mine is a rave, I think.
Good. I'm glad. I'm so glad.
And we are 14 days, and hopefully everyone else is excited about this. We are 14 days away from the start of the NFL season.
I'm excited.
And as a Buffalo Bills fan, I was thrilled to find out that, actually I wasn't thrilled. I was really upset to find out that the Buffalo Bills were going to be highlighted on HBO's Hard Knocks this offseason for this training camp.
Right.
And I am thrilled that it is probably the most boring show on television right now. It is so... They're talking about how well they get along and buying pizza for fans and going to an ice cream shop and naming a sundae after one of the players. It is terribly boring, which is so wonderful because the cohesiveness of this Buffalo Bills team that will reach the Super Bowl in 2025 is finally coming into view. And I'm so excited for the start of the season.
Oh, God.
So that's my
Buffalo Bills fan being optimistic. That is a beautiful thing.
Go Bills.
I wish you the best. And I'm glad Aaron Rodgers and my Steelers have a game against you late in the season. All right. I want to rave about my friend friend and colleague Ari Shapiro. He announced this week that he is leaving NPR after 25 years, 10 years hosting All Things Considered. Ari is an incredible human, an incredible storyteller, an incredible journalist. I will never forget, I walked into NPR in 2005 as a newspaper reporter who knew nothing about radio. Ari was the first person to come up to me and welcome me and tell me that if I needed any help, any advice, he was there for me. And that's the kind of moment when, you know, you're vulnerable and worried and someone reaches out and says, you know, I've got your back, that stays with you forever. So Ari, as your friend and colleague, can't wait to see what you do next. Really appreciate you. And that brings us home. Mike, Rebecca, I want to thank you both, as always. And I want to thank the people who work on this show every week. Left, Right, and Center is produced by Marquet Green. Our executive producer is Arnie Seipel. The show is recorded by Sue Margulies and mixed by Nick Lamponi. Todd M. Simon composed our theme music. Left, Right, and Center is a co-production of KCRW and Fearless Media, and we are distributed by PRX. I'm David Green. I will be back here next week, and I hope you will be as well for more Left, Right, and Center.
Download and subscribe at kcrw.com/LRC, the KCRW app, or wherever you find podcasts. Left, Right, and Center is produced and distributed by KCRW.
It's one thing to love public radio. It's a special thing to support it. Consider this. If you've got a car you don't need anymore, or you've got one that's simply too expensive to repair, arrange to donate it to Houston Public Media. We take any kind of vehicle in any condition. It's easy for you. Pickup is free, and it could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. Visit HoustonPublicMedia.org/cars to learn more. And thanks.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, 3 big mystery premieres. At 7, it's a new season of Professor T, followed at 8 by season 2 of The Marlowe Murder Club. Then at 9, it's the season premiere of Unforgotten. Tonight on TV8, your NPR station News 88.7 KUHF Houston, a service of the University of Houston. Get local and breaking news anytime at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Listen to us on your favorite devices. Tell your smart speaker to play News 88.7.
Hey, I'm Sam Sanders. Today on my show with KCRW, writer and comedian Lindy West. She breaks down her hottest pop culture hot takes, including one about a little reality show called Love Island.
The thing that I realized the other day is that the show should be called Friendship Island, because absolutely by far the most compelling part of the show is the bond between the guys and the bond between the girls.
And those will last longer than any of the relationships.
100%. None of these relationships are making it off the set.
Lindy West and her best friend Megan Hatcher Mays with lessons on pop culture and friendship. Plus, should some celebrities get a pass for being problematic? It's coming up this hour after these headlines.
Live from NPR News, I'm Janine Herbst. President Trump is threatening to send the National Guard to several Democrat-led cities, New York and Baltimore among them, after sending them to Washington, D.C. NPR's Tamara Keith has more.
The Washington Post is exclusively reporting that the Pentagon has been drawing up planning documents to deploy troops to Chicago to crack down on crime, homelessness, and undocumented immigration. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker wrote on social media, quote, Donald Trump's threat to bring in the National Guard to Chicago isn't about safety, it's a test of the limits of his power and a trial run for a police state. Illinois has long worked with federal law enforcement to tackle crime, but we won't let a dictator impose his will.
NPR's Tamara Keith. Maryland's governor also criticized Trump's actions. The new congressional map pushed through the Texas legislature by Republicans is already facing legal challenges. They were requested by President Trump to improve Republican prospects in next year's midterm elections. Texas Public Radio's Jerry Clayton has more.
Lawmakers approved the map on Saturday in the early morning hours. The new map heavily favors Republicans and was pushed by the Trump administration to shore up Republican ranks in Congress for the approaching midterm elections. The lawsuit was filed against Governor Greg Abbott and Secretary of State Jane Nelson on behalf by Republicans after a lengthy battle which saw Democrats at one point fleeing the state to break quorum. For NPR News, I'm Jerry Clayton in San Antonio.
Today is Independence Day in Ukraine, marking 34 years since the Ukrainian parliament voted to reject being part of the Soviet Union. NPR's Polina Latwinova reports it coincides with 3.5 years since Russia's full-scale invasion.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky congratulated Ukrainians on Independence Day from Maidan, the main square of the Ukrainian capital. In his video address, Zelensky said that Ukraine is fighting for a just peace and the right to determine its own future. Today, both the US and Europe agree Ukraine hasn't yet fully won, but it will certainly not lose, he says. Ukraine has secured its independence. It was 1991 when it declared independence from Soviet rule. Now, 34 years later, and days after President Trump declared a diplomatic breakthrough in his bid to get a peace deal done, ceasefire negotiations between Ukraine and Russia appear to have stalled. Polina Latwinova, NPR News, Kyiv.
You're listening to NPR News. 6 male workers who died at a dairy farm north of Denver last week have now been identified. The cause of death is under investigation. Emma Van Dyndy of member station KUNC has more on victims.
Weld County Fire Department crews found 6 bodies when they responded to a call for a confined space rescue at the Prospect Valley Dairy on Wednesday. The county coroner's office reports 4 victims were extended family members. 50-year-old Alejandro Espinoza Cruz was killed along with his 2 sons, 29-year-old Carlos Espinoza Pardo and 17-year-old Oscar Espinoza Leos, who attended high school in the area. The coroner says the cause of death was likely a gas exposure in the confined space, but the office is waiting on additional testing. There is no indication a crime took place. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration is also investigating the incident. For NPR News, I'm Emma Van Dyndy in Denver.
Mass evacuations are planned in Vietnam as Typhoon Kajiki heads to the region. 500,000 people are affected, and authorities ordered boats to stay ashore, while southern China closed businesses and public transportation today. And Vietnam's airlines are canceling flights. Forecasters expect the storm to brush past the southern coast of China tonight before heading out to Vietnam. Vietnam's National Weather Agency says the storm is expected to strengthen. U.S. futures contracts are trading flat at this hour as traders this week await earnings from NVIDIA. I'm Janine Herbst, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Cigna Healthcare, a health benefits provider that advocates for better health through every stage of life. Learn more at Cigna.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
This is Ernie Manus, and I'd like to thank everyone for checking out our new talk show, Hello Houston.
I'm Frank Billingsley. Not only can you listen to us on the News 88.7 airwaves, but you can watch us on the Houston Public Media YouTube page.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. We had great conversations this past week, Houston, and we want you to join us weekdays to talk about the topics that affect Houston and beyond.
And you can join the conversation at 713-440-8870.
It's Hello Houston, where Houston talks, here on News 88.7.
Hey y'all, it's the Sam Sanders Show from KCRW, where we ask big questions and offer up hot takes on the pop culture we love. Thank you so much for listening. This week, friendship. It's something we see a lot on screen, in reality shows and sitcoms. We even see a bunch of friendship in like police procedurals. Friendship is everywhere, but does the friendship we see on screen actually mirror the way friendship works in real life? I break down that question with 2 guests this episode, writer and comedian Lindy West.
I'm the famous podcaster Lindy West, and I'm a writer and I have a podcast, famously, and most importantly, best friend of Megan Hatcher-Mays.
Lawyer and democracy expert Megan Hatcher-Mays.
Yes, that's me. I'm Megan Hatcher-Mays, co-host of the acclaimed podcast Text Me Back.
where Lindy and I just kind of talk about friendship.
These two have been best friends for more than 2 decades. Such good friends that they even have a friendship podcast. It's called Text Me Back. All right, this episode, some hot takes with Lindy and Megan. Hot takes not only on pop culture, but also friendship. Let's get into it. Can I offer you 2 friends who host a friendship podcast called Text Me Back? Can I offer you my friendship hot take about pop culture? All right. I think friendships are more important in society than romantic relationships. And I think that TV and movies should prioritize friendships more. And I think that we should have fewer rom-coms and more friends movies. And I say this as someone who loves rom-coms.
Yeah,
Discuss.
rom-coms. To me,
Yes, Megan.
to me, that is a perfectly acceptable take. It is not hot to me at all. I feel like Lindy and I have been talking about this forever because when you do get like pop culture representations of female friendship in particular, it's almost always centered around resolving some sort of romantic conflict with somebody else that's not in the friendship.
There's a man involved.
And yet I think men, especially with like the Judd Apatow universe, men get a lot of opportunities to have more nuanced friendships in that sense. Although men in real life are like not allowed to have friends and they have to call it bromance instead of friend to acknowledge that it's
also in
weird
the
to have
movies,
friends.
In the movies, men get to be friends under only certain circumstances.
Yeah.
They got to be stoners together, like Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
They have to be criminals together, like so many movies. Or they have to be cops together.
Right. Yeah, that's so true.
That's where they get to be friends.
Well, if I think for female friendships, it's almost always like something mystical is happening. So I think like the classic example is Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Is that what it's called? Yeah. And like the pants magically fit them all. And so there's always some sort of like magical element or like something mystical bringing them all together. You never get to see 2 women best friend dirtbags. And that's what I want. Just like 2 women who don't have kids, not particularly interested in having kids. They're not coming together over a shared problem with their husbands. They're just driving around eating McDonald's. Like, because that to me is like mine and Lindy's friendship to a T. Like, I
Let's
just think,
play this out. What's y'all's friend-com called, and what is the storyboard pitch?
We were just talking about this. Yeah. Well, what should we call it, Lindy? Marinate on that. Well, it's just, I think, so when we first met in high school, and this was 25 years ago, and we've been friends ever since. And our early friendship was not about like trying to get dates or talking about our crushes. It really was driving around in Lindy's Volvo and finding stuff that we thought was funny in Seattle and like taking a picture of it or making it a vocal stim for the rest of our lives or whatever, and like stopping at the local grocery store to get a hot panini sandwich.
Let's call it hot sandwich.
Hot sandwich.
Hot panini? Hot panini?
Yeah, hot panini. And it was so glorious, and it still is, our friendship, I think, is still so glorious, but those early days of just like being fully glommed onto one another and kind of becoming one organism was so satisfying, and it didn't have anything to do with men or boys or at all.
It's very, very true. I didn't receive a boyfriend for like 10 more years.
No.
Receive a boyfriend in the mail.
I was not granted a boyfriend by the service at all. And so I feel like you don't get a lot of that. And I think what Lindy and I talk about a lot is best friendship at first sight. That's what our friendship was like. And you don't see popular representations of that at all. Like when we met each other in the gym senior year of high school, I was like, I think both like, platonic friendship alert, you know? And we really just like have not left each other's side since, because there's just something so satisfying about our friendship. Like I would never want to lose it.
Yeah.
Also,
yes, Lindy.
I'd like to zoom out into maybe conspiracy land, but I'm going to do it anyway and say that I think that traditional marriage in this land where we live deliberately pulls people away from having close, intense friendships, which weakens our communities because it weakens our ability to build a village where we are all involved in each other's lives. We know what's going on with each other. We're taking care of each other. And I think that it props up dark lonely capitalism on purpose.
Yes.
I don't mean like someone pushed a button and was like, we should do this, but no more friendships. There's a reason why, the American right is like, why trad wives are popular and stuff. Yeah. It's not like, where are the trad friends?
Exactly.
Listen, I always say, is it a nuclear family or a nuclear bomb?
I just think, like, I'm a lawyer by trade, and I had a law professor in law school who wrote up like a whole book about this. Like why aren't friendships recognized by law? There are things about your friendship. There are levels of intimacy in your friendship that you don't always have in your marriage. Like, actually, in some cases, your friend might know about some issue you're having in your marriage before your spouse does, and yet, that's not recognized. There's no inherent legal benefits in being my friend, and yet there are levels of intimacy in a best friendship that you don't get in romantic relationships.
All of this is reminding me that one of my favorite shows of the last decade and one of the best presentations of friendship on screen, in my opinion, is Netflix's Grace and Frankie.
I love that show.
I ate that show up because the men were secondary. There were men around, but they weren't important. It was about Grace and Frankie.
Yeah, it was almost like the scandal of their husbands hooking up was not really that important.
Like, okay, whatever.
They were like, whatever. At least we have each other.
Yes.
And it really felt really beautiful. I mean, that was such a beautiful meditation on friendship, that show, and also aging and rediscovering your body after a very long relationship. It was great.
I still will tweet at Netflix and ask for more episodes of that show. I loved it so much.
Yeah. Oh, how about hot take? Let the viewers vote on what shows get canceled. I am sick and tired.
I like it.
Perfect shows being canceled after 3 seasons.
What was your last perfect cancellation?
I'm gonna pick Southside. I wanted more Southside.
Such a good show.
Yeah.
Sorry. What was wrong with that show?
Yeah.
It's perfect. Yeah. Everything about it.
Meanwhile, they won't let Nicole Kidman rest because she's making the same rich white lady in danger show every 3 weeks.
Yeah, once
on
again,
every streamer.
It's just a version of existing IP. It's like, somebody called Pedro Pascal. See if he's a base. There are other men. Not that I'm complaining. No, I am not complaining. He's very handsome, but there are other men who exist and are alive that you could call.
I like this. That is a very good hot take.
Thanks.
Let us vote on cancellations.
We should at least get a voice in the process.
We should at least get a voice. Can I offer you the yes and to my earlier hot take?
Yes.
When it comes to seeing friendship in TV and film, surprisingly enough, the spaces in which I most see friendships of difference navigate and be worked through is in crime procedurals or cop TV and films.
It's all over now.
You will have a buddy cop film where one's a woman and one's a man, one's black and one's white, one's old and one's young, one's straight and one's gay, and they gotta work together and figure it out. What does it say about American society that the content that we see that most often gets at the ways friendship can change is police stuff?
It's by arresting people.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if that's just because our feeble American minds can't conceive that two people from different backgrounds would ever cross each other's paths unless they were both together. Cops. Yeah, or worked. But police departments specifically strike me as a place where it's that's the only place you could imagine an old guy
and a young guy
with a young gun in the cruiser, the police cruiser.
I mean, not to be on the side of the cop shows, but
Lindy,
I was just thinking about this. That's such a beautiful question, first of all, and I don't know the answer, but I can speculate. And actually, it does really lend itself to an exploration of friendship because you do have two people who are on some level randomly assigned to be together. They are, look, Megan, if you want a show about two dirt bags riding around in a car going to 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Movie.
Also, they're constantly encountering things that are
wild. Yeah.
alarming or unusual, or they are...
Plot
they
just
are,
happens. Plot comes to them.
Exactly. They are sent to plot. Areas of plot.
Occasionally plot comes to them. They don't even have to go anywhere. Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you're at a school or something, you're just always at the school. I like that the cops get to go drive around. Maybe I should become a cop.
With your best friend.
Yes.
Do you think the Academy would take us?
I don't know, but I'd watch. I'd watch that montage. I'd watch the montage of the two of you at, like, police training camp.
Both of us making up half an inch of the rope and then passing away immediately. Just instant death.
How do we get Netflix to bring Grace and Frankie back, but this time they're cops?
Honestly, I don't think that'd be that hard to sell. That's a great
Netflix,
idea.
get at us. All right, if you're just now joining me, I'm talking with writer and comedian Lindy West and her longtime friend Megan Hatcher Mays. Together, these two host the Text Me Back podcast. This episode, we are breaking down all our hot takes on pop culture and friendship. All right, I have given you all of my friendship hot takes. Do you have any friendship pop culture hot takes to get off
I have
your chest?
one.
Let's go.
I have one.
Lindy.
Okay, so I don't watch a ton of reality TV. But I grew up in this world, so I've seen my share. But now, as a 43-year-old, I mostly just watch, like, I don't know, Antiques Roadshow. But
sweet. I watch a bunch of 90s music videos on YouTube to get
I
sleepy
love
at
that.
night.
That's so nice.
And I muttered to myself, they don't make them like they used to.
what have we lost? Another mini hot take.
Yeah.
I miss cable, but specifically the era when there would be like VH1, like 90s or whatever, where they would just show music videos. There would just be a channel you could put on. Bring it back.
Yes.
So every once in a while I get FOMO about the memes, and I want to understand the memes, and so I will watch a season of something just to understand. And so I have chosen to watch this current season of Love Island.
You and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Let me tell you
I know.
something.
Well, that's why I picked it. I was like, I gotta know.
I gotta watch. I tried. I did the pilot, and I said, yeah, I'm sorry that happened to y'all, but I ain't watching all that.
I'm not doing that. The pilot is grim, and I honestly, I can't believe that I made it past the pilot.
It's really bad.
It's ruining my life. It's consuming me trying to get through this freaking show. But I can't believe I'm saying this. At this point in the arc of the show, I have been everybody pilled. I love all these idiots. They're all my children. I'm rooting for them. They make their little mistakes, but they learn, maybe. I just want them to succeed in life. And a thing that I realized the other day is that the show should be called Friendship Island, because absolutely by far the most compelling part of the show is the bond between the guys and the bond between the girls.
And those will last longer than any of the relationships.
100%.
None of these relationships are making it off the set.
Can we even call them relationships?
No! It's so boring when people are like crying, literally like people they've been together quote unquote a week
On a set with cameras in front of you.
On a set, the show is about them kissing each other.
Mm-hmm.
People will be together for a week, and then their person kisses someone else, and then they're like, after all we've been through together. Like, ma'am.
This is an Arby's. Come on. We not know. Yeah.
But meanwhile, the bonds that people are forming, because, I mean, the trauma bonds, I assume, in the groups are so precious. And, like, especially the guys, because you don't see men being affectionate and loving like this normally in media. And, like, these men are, like, they're all telling each other they love each other. When someone gets kicked off, they're crying. And they're like, that's my best friend for life. That he's Superman to me. I've never met anyone like him before. Like, and they're crying and they're comforting each other. When something fun happens, they all get together in a big group hug and they jump up and down.
Am I gonna have to watch Love Island?
It sounds like we might have to watch Love Island.
I keep a expecting to get bored, and I'm not, let me tell you.
Okay, I'm in.
So, yeah, I think Love Island is a show about friendship, and I wish they would just embrace that and stop making me watch them kiss.
That's a good hot take.
Thanks.
That's a good hot take.
So I really feel like the more interesting show would just be like, put a camera in the girl's house and the boy's house and do a show about how they become friends.
Yeah,
like,
because,
I would rather watch that.
Yeah, the girl's house on a reality show feels like the energy of the women's bathroom at the club at 2:30 a.m.
Yes.
where everyone's just friends.
Yeah.
It's that energy for a whole reality show.
Yeah.
Film the bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always like, I have extra Kleenex. I have a tampon. Do you need lip gloss? Like that, that's such a good description. It's like that 2:30 a.m. last call women's bathroom vibe. That should be a show. You know?
All I want as a cisgender man is for someone to let me in the women's bathroom. I'm homosexual. I ain't gonna mess with y'all. I just need to feel the positivity.
You hear that, J.K. Rowling? He's admitting it.
It sounds like a magical place.
You know what I used to do in the bathroom when I was wasted? And I would make a new best friend, which I called my night friends. I was always giving a girl my earrings. If a girl complimented my earrings in the bathroom, I'd be like, you can have them.
That's so sweet.
And I really don't regret any of those moments. And I wonder who out there has my earrings.
If you have Lindy's earrings and you're listening, give us a call.
What if the beauty of the earrings, the 2:30 a.m. bathroom earrings, is that they have become their own sisterhood of family earrings?
Oh my God, this is
they
our
fit in everyone's ears.
fit in everyone's ears.
Which is uncommon for earrings. It's different.
This is the movie. This is the movie.
This is a movie. Okay. Legally binding oral contract. Megan's a lawyer. You have to write this movie with us, Sam. Sorry.
Done.
All right. Okay, great.
Done.
Sensational.
What do we call it?
Night friends, I think.
Night friends. Yeah. And the sequel will be a movie all about the men's bathroom at the club at 2:30 a.m. and that'll be a horror film.
That one was called like Brody's.
Listeners, if you are anything like me, you want to peek behind the curtain, look behind the scenes, and you can do that with this show by checking out my newsletter. Sometimes I let you know what I'm reading or watching, loving or hating. Some weeks I just tell you that one of the best burgers on the west side of LA is this little cute restaurant right on Venice Beach called Dudley Market. Yeah, I share food tips as well. If you want to crawl inside my brain a little bit more, check out my newsletter. If you go to kcrw.com/Sam Sanders, you can sign up, get it in your inbox. You'll have hot takes and deep dives and rumination on the culture from me every week. And if you write back to that newsletter, I'll see it and we'll probably respond. So go ahead, sign up for the newsletter to let me know your thoughts as well. kcrw.com/Sam Sanders to sign up. With that, time for a break. When we come back, more hot takes with writer Lindy West and her best friend, Megan Hatcher Mays. Together, these two host the Text Me Back podcast. All right, stick around. BRB.
If you're feeling frustrated and unsure of what to do right now, start here.
Support Houston Public Media's Resiliency Fund. Your support will bridge the $2.2 million annual gap left from federal funding cuts.
Giving to our Resiliency Fund means you're protecting the truth. You're making sure people stay informed.
You can do something. Give to the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Or call 888-909-0887.
The news nowadays is a bit like our weather, much more extreme. The headlines that grab the most attention generate a lot of heat and not much light. On 1A, we rely on your questions and stories to help us better understand the issues that demand more than a few tweets. With your help, we'll get to the heart of the story together.
1A, weekdays at 2 p.m. on News 88.7.
We live in an age obsessed with optimization. There's an app for everything, from tracking your time to hacking your habits. Books, podcasts, and gurus promise peak productivity and a life of ultimate efficiency. But is this relentless drive making us better, or is it pushing us past our limits? I'm John Donvan. This week on Open to Debate, we ask, is our productivity culture toxic? Don't miss it.
Sunday night at 10 p.m. on News 88.7.
Hey y'all, it's the Sam Sanders Show. Let's get back to my conversation with Lindy West. She's an author, writer, and comedian. We're also joined this episode by Lindy's longtime friend, Megan Hatcher Mays. Together, Lindy and Megan host the Text Me Back podcast. These two have been friends for 25 years. So this episode, we are breaking down some of their hottest takes, not only on pop culture, but also on friendship. Like how the reality shows that we grew up with in the 90s and the friendships we saw there, how that may, in some weird way, explain our current politics. All right, let's get back into it. All right, this brings us to another pop culture hot take on friendship that y'all mentioned in an email weeks ago that has had me thinking ever since. To sum it up, and y'all can do it better than me, you basically made the case that reality TV, and specifically road rules, is a lot more important in our country's culture and politics than many might assume. Say more. Megan.
I would love to. Well, it's really the Real World Road Rules franchise. To
Industrial
me,
complex.
yeah, the Challenge Industrial Complex.
For those who don't know, for the young ones listening, how do we even set up this reality show franchise?
Well, so I don't know if the Real World was the first reality show, but I think people kind of think of it as like the prototype
This
for what,
era.
Of what came
changed
after.
everything.
Yeah, and it was.
Heather B, season 1, love you forever.
I know. Anyway, it was how many strangers? 7 strangers, 8 strangers picked to live in a house. They have their lives taped. They stop being polite and start getting real. You know.
Oh, add the theme music in post and lay it over us talking. It'll be so cute.
This is the true story
True story.
of 7 strangers
Picked to live in a house.
and have their lives taped.
Find out what happens when people stop being polite and start getting real. The real world. San Francisco.
The very first episode, it truly was just like 7 strangers. Strangers to each other, strangers to the globe. They're just random people. And they're like racially diverse, all those sorts of things. And they move into this
At least one was a homosexual of some sort.
At least one, yeah. And then, then MTV added a version in a van called Road Rules.
It really turned left with road rules.
Yeah.
Because then it was like they were looking for folks who were even wilder.
Yeah.
To be doing like challenges all around. What were the challenges?
Yeah,
they were
like bungee jumping and running through the desert and stuff.
Yeah.
I was not as big of a fan as Road Rules as I was of Real World, but there was so much of that, I think, for people our age especially, like that's very formative. Like the San Francisco season, for example, with Puck, and Puck got kicked out of the house.
Seattle with Irene.
Seattle with
Lyme
Irene.
disease saga.
And her Lyme disease saga.
New Orleans with David with the gray sweater.
You're a homosexual?
Steven.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that was...
She didn't lie.
She didn't. As it turns out, she was...
Nicki Minaj voice.
Did I lie? Did I lie? But like this might be kind of corny, I don't know, but that was like one of the first popular representations I saw on TV of somebody with AIDS. We grew up in Seattle. It wasn't not that uncommon, but that was the first time I saw like Pedro advocating for, AIDS care on the San Francisco season. So on the San Francisco season was a woman by the name of Rachel Campos, who went on to marry a man by the name of Sean Duffy, himself an alumni of Real World. Boston, I believe.
And so fast forward, Sean Duffy, Real World alum, he is now U.S. Secretary of Transportation.
And acting NASA administrator.
Oh, wow, I missed that one.
Oh, he got a little promotion.
Okay, and then also, y'all mentioned Theo Vaughn.
Yes.
Who was a Road Rules alum. He is currently one of the biggest podcasters in the country and a big supporter of Donald Trump, and is seen by many as part of that alt-right podcast wave. that brought Trump back to the White House. So I think what I'm saying is your hot take is that like real world road rules explains the world. Right?
Ruined the country? I don't know. Well, I think we were kind of reminiscing about Sean's season. Sean Duffy. I still call him Sean because I just all of these people on Real World were just on
His
one
first name.
monos.
Except for Heather B. My love.
They were. I think that's probably like the advent of parasocialness. Was you would like get to know these people on a first name basis. Irene and Steven and Sean and Beth and Rachel and Puck. But Sean Duffy's season, I recall, goes on this sort of like learning journey of like the black female experience in the United States. There was one roommate who was always trying to tell him like, Sean, you're not understanding my perspective. You're not getting what I'm saying.
Camila,
yes. Yeah. And so my recollection is he really went on a journey and really by the end of it was like, wow, I learned a lot from you. And I mean, you can think of Real World Road Rules as like reality TV slop. And it was. I'm not saying it wasn't. But in the earlier seasons, there was almost every season. Yeah, almost every season did emphasize like these young people, these 20-somethings are growing and learning and, going out into the world. So it's so interesting to me that like Rachel Campos was living with Pedro in this house, was like shown this like beautiful advocacy you could do for marginalized communities, and then became a Fox News pundit trad wife married to Sean Duffy, who also left his season Real World boss and I thought enlightened, and who became just sort of like a rank and file MAGA congressman, and now is the Secretary of Transportation, who spends almost all of his time complaining that you're going to get murdered on the subway. I promise the last time this man was on a subway was when he was on Real World Boston.
What should we make of Theo Vaughn having a blow up post road rules? Wendy?
I think it's fascinating that Sean and Rachel are taking care of the policy and Theo Vaughn's holding it down in the culture. The thing about Theo is that and who knows how much of this is a character that he plays, but he's like an idiot,
Yeah.
That's sort of his doofy, like, shtick.
I'm just asking questions. Oh, shucks.
Like, I feel like Joe Rogan tries to act like he's smart, kind of, like Joe Rogan always has like a sort of a sly twinkle, but Theo's just like, what? And like, that's fine. I guess really the critique is, why do we elevate celebrities to this level where we think that they know what they're talking about? You know what I mean?
I think I know why. Because we live in a camera-first social economy.
Right.
And the thing that you get from reality TV show training is knowing how to work on camera.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's so true.
Because keep in mind, Joe Rogan, also a reality star.
Yep.
He was on Fear Factor.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's like, if you want to talk about, I just remember being in my 20s and Real World and Road Rules sort of growing and exploding and getting more and devouring itself and becoming more and more sort of refined and sophisticated. And then there was the challenge where they would make them fight each other, which I think is still on.
It's still on. It's still on.
And I remember like 20 years ago being like, oh my God, this is going to grow into like a demographic block of people who have all been on MTV.
It's a profession now.
Yeah,
it's a profession.
And indeed, our president is a reality show professional.
That's the thing. But I think that's why he likes these people so much, is because they're like him. Like, they came up through the same talent pipeline, if you will, through these reality shows. These guys, they probably have had these views this whole time, like pretty conservative, I don't know, trad views. I don't know what Theo Vaughn's whole deal is, but these shows, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, but didn't they go on some sort of journey of enlightenment? But at the end of the day, maybe that's just the edit, And so what these shows are really doing, maybe it's sort of like the best example we can find of like this thing that Republicans say now. It's like, oh, really? You can't be friends with somebody you disagree with? And it's like, it's not that I disagree with you. It's that your views are existential to me, you know? And I think maybe what MTV was doing was saying, see, we can find common ground with people who are different, when that really isn't true in the case of Sean Duffy and Theo Vaughn and Rachel.
Because all of this MTV reality show industrial complex was like telling us two things at once. On the one hand, they're saying, live in a house, learn from other people, enlighten yourself. But the entire other half of that juggernaut was challenges where you fought these guys to the death to win money. You know?
Right. Yeah.
And I think that, like, my larger takeaway with all of this is, like, if you want to understand how our politics works, if you want to understand how love and gender work in our society, right now at least, watch reality TV.
Yeah.
It is, I think, it's like, who could have predicted in the 90s when the real world started? But the society in which we live right now, today in 2025, is incredibly linked to and functioning through the language of reality television.
Yeah. And also in this meta way, it works in this meta way where it's like actually inherently violent and evil to force, like, if you look, you know, these seasons of the early Real World where we're like, oh, it was so progressive and brave, and they were like putting people who didn't agree in this house. Yeah, you're putting one black person in a house with 6 white racists.
That part.
Yeah.
That part.
Expecting her to teach them a lesson of enlightenment over the course
It really
of
is
3
like
months.
the Stanford prison experiment.
Yes.
We just thought it was all nice and lovely.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even now, if you're a black person on a reality show, you have to be so careful with how you express your feelings and reactions. And there's no talking about, you know, the subtleties of how you're being treated. Like, if you want to stay on the show and you want to get screen time and you want to be picked in the challenge, I mean, it's like,
stay right.
It's dark. Like, nothing.
It's dark.
There actually is no progress there. There's just the illusion of progress.
And we've made prison the goal. When you go to these reality shows, they take away your phone, they take away your ID, they check to make sure that you don't leave campus, and they make you kind of stay drunk. It also, like, our love of reality TV, like, normalizes us to being, like, health against our will.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, it's aspirational to be trapped on an island.
Yeah. Yes. Or a Scottish estate with Alan Cumming, which actually does sound amazing. But there is
For 12 hours. If you're just now joining me, I'm here with two very smart and very funny podcasters, lawyer Megan Hatcher-Mays and author and comedian Lindy West. They're longtime friends who now host a podcast called Text Me Back.
Oh, I want to say one other thing.
Yeah,
I want to
Lindy.
say something about my babies on Love Island.
I want you there as like a life coach next season.
Yeah, me too.
I want you to help the babies.
I have so much wisdom for them.
Yes.
But first things first, take off the jorts. Second thing, you guys need to learn some new phrases. You can't just say, here's what they say. They say, I'm not going to lie for every sentence. Every sentence they say, I'm not going to lie. They say they're standing on business. Every sentence. They say that everything has them feeling some type of way, or they're in their feelings. And then they just combine those 4 things and various permutations. So I would introduce some new idioms, and I would tell them to please calm down. This isn't real. Anyway, that's not your boyfriend. But Love is Blind is one of the scariest shows I've ever seen in my life, and part of it is because you can tell that they're force feeding them alcohol.
White light.
And I just want to say that Love Island does not have that vibe. They don't seem drunk. That you don't see them drinking all the time. They don't have weird goblets. I just want to throw that out there.
Good. Also, speaking of people saying standing on business, another hot take for y'all. Anyone who ever says that they are standing on business is not.
Yeah.
In the same way that folks who say that they don't do drama, they do drama.
They are the most drama person you've ever met in your life.
And you know what? To take it back to earlier in this conversation, you are here to make friends. I can't.
Thank you.
Don't
build alliances.
Turn left.
Exactly.
Come on. You're not standing on business. You're not nearly as good of a villain as you think you are. And you should be nice to the fellow contestants because you might build a friendship.
I have to say that's one of the worst things about reality TV cannibalizing itself is that people go on with the intention of being the villain of the season. And let me tell you, when you go on with the goal of being that person, you're never, ever a good villain. And then you're just like mean and it's not even entertaining. You're not striking me as like genuinely villainous. You're striking me as somebody who's like playing a meta game about airtime, which is not actually entertaining to watch, you know?
Also, I was thinking about this Sean Duffy thing, Rachel thing, and I thought maybe it would be fun. Not fun, probably wise to look ahead 20 years. So who in today's crop of reality stars is going to be running the government?
Who's the interracial couple from one of the earlier seasons of Love is Blind?
What is her name?
She's great. He have questions about it.
Lauren Speed, and what is the guy's name?
Cameron Hamilton.
And Lauren Speed. Yes.
Lauren and Cameron are going to be governors somewhere. So.
Oh, yeah.
Like
and I can't wait to vote for them. There's
I'll
something
vote for
about
her.
them. I'll vote for her. Yes. We'll see. But there's just something about those two. I was like, instant. I was like, I have instant chemistry with you too.
They got it. I think that, okay, where do the Love Island contestants end up in 20 years? I'm not sure they run the world.
I'm going to say